Hello, welcome back to my campaign diary. Last session began with my party waking up after resting a little bit within the chapel within Castle Caldwell, and they were all raring ready to go, maybe a little bit cocky as they had been through most of the castle nearly unscathed. They'd been doing a good job of it, they'd been checking at doors, things like that, and the fights that they'd gotten into they'd won with ease. And so they moved along and went on to the next room further down this corridor, just outside the chapel. And it begins with Ivan opening the door and just walking in. I said to him, "You just walking in?" Yeah, I just open the door, I walk in. I'm like, okay. I pick up a dice, and as soon as I pick up this D20, I just see in his face, he's like, oh, crap. I roll it, 18. A spider crab drops down from the ceiling, lands on top of Ivan. Ivan is instantly bitten into, poisoned, injected into his veins. He has to make a save. I then roll a d4. He doesn't know what the d4 is for, but he has an idea, because I don't tell him it's any poison damage. So a fight instantly breaks out. Everyone's firing arrows. Frank runs over to Ivan's body, rolls him over, roll the body. That's a homebrew rule that we're using here, just because we didn't want people to be dying constantly. So they roll the body, and Ivan is led there, bleeding out. He gets to make a death saving throw. Rolls his death. He fails. The party has managed to kill this spider crab within the round, but Ivan is dead with it. And so everyone they're all distraught. This character had managed to survive 7 sessions without dying. The rest of the party, they've had 1 or 2 characters. There's actually an ongoing joke that Ivan is unkillable, and through not sheer dumb luck, through carelessness, just walking into this room without checking, Ivan was dead. They decided we're going to have to take him, we'll have to take him out of the dungeon, maybe get him to the priest that they'd found earlier, who is now with the traders. Maybe she can help, is what they thought. So Blank picked up the body, began carrying him round and out of the down the corridor, but there was no time for them to mourn, as they heard down the corridor the sounds of some goblins chattering amongst themselves. They decided to use Ivan's body as a decoy. They planted him against the wall, slumped, and while everyone else hid around the corner. These goblins see it. They don't know what to think of it. They fire some arrows off. One arrow hits Ivan, and he slumps down. From the other angle, so the camera angle of the party, they hear some goblins, and the next thing they know, thump, Ivan's body falls into a shot down the corridor for them. It's they're at like an intersection and an L shape. Goblins then start moving towards it as they see Ivan's pockets are filled with coins that he was carrying around, right? Pouches, he's got sacks in his bag. So coins spill out. These goblins think that they've just struck gold. They're a little bit greedy, and they're not the smartest. So their suspicions are sort of suddenly got away. Oh, this guy must have died, and they've just left him here. They start running along. The party ambushes them. They roll. The goblins are surprised. Arrows fly. And after 2 goblins are killed, the other 2 start running away, and the party decides, no, they're angry at the dungeon. They're angry at these goblins that have led them here. This is the reason they're actually here, and Ivan is dead because of it. So they kill the goblins and carry on moving through. Eventually, they reach the traders and the priestess. With some joking around with different things, there's these 3 traders. The way that they were acting, I've got to go through such a different list of voices. At some point it came out, it was actually at the start during last session. It came out that these traders, one opened the door, looks out, the next one opened the door, looks out. The running joke became that these traders are the cast of Seinfeld. And now with a priestess, there's these 3 blokes and this woman. It basically just became like a little Seinfeld session where they're there chatting away. They're all distraught from the fact that Ivan's been dead, and then they get me to try and do Seinfeld impressions, So that was it was a weird combo. Anyway, so They rest up, chatting with Seinfeld. The priestess says that there is nothing that can be done. She apologizes that they've lost Ivan. She doesn't have the capabilities to bring someone back from the dead. As far as she knows, it can't be done. Maybe a high priest would be able to do that, someone at the top of the order. But even then, you would have to find someone and venture far and wide. And Ivan, his soul has likely left his body by this point. And the priestess gives Ivan his last rites, and they rest up. They then leave this room, and as they're leaving, the door swings open, and standing in the doorway is a man, bearded, raggedy looking, wearing a brown cloak, a man of the woods, and he introduces himself as Firth. He is a druid who has been using this dungeon, he's been using a room in this dungeon at least, to keep an eye on some sturges. They're not native to the region, and he's basically been keeping them isolated here so then they don't disrupt the ecosystem of the surrounding forest. Blank then has a conversation with Firth, trying to convince him that goblins had killed the sturges and that he can come and have a look, and why doesn't he get revenge on the goblins? And Firth isn't quite buying it. So he declares, if you guys killed these sturges, you owe me, right? Those are my sturges. I was looking after them. So you know what? You're going to have to, I'll go around this dungeon and you're going to have to pay me back for the sturges. And so they have a new party member just as soon as they lost one. So now they're more cautious than ever as they press on through the dungeon, listening at doors, checking for traps. They listen at one door and they hear 3 thieves talking about their most recent score and how much gold that they've got and things like that. They decide, right, that's it. We're gonna take revenge. They try to deceive the thieves, pretending to be house cleaning, saying that this is a hotel that has been bought. But these thieves aren't having it. They see through it. As far as they're concerned, this is kind of their castle, and the goblins are their guards, is what they declare. After this brief argument between the thieves and the party, fight breaks out. The thieves are killed. 2 of them are killed and 1 is left alive. And they use him to interrogate him and get more information out. And this thief that's left alive says that there is a hideout, a proper hideout, that these guys are part of a gang called the Fangs of Barfeld. And they are notorious thieves in the area. And they've been robbing people on the high road and the King's Road and things like that for years now. And they've gotten filthy rich whilst doing it. And he says that they have a hideout northeast of Restone. It's a tower, a fortress tower. He was thinking he was going to be let go. Blank walks behind him and just slits his throat, killing the guy in cold blood. And it seems like this new druid friend, while he isn't chaotic, he doesn't like the thieves. They've done wrong in the eyes of the law, and therefore they should be punished, is where he lies on this thing. After checking some other rooms and getting some coins and a scroll of warp wood, which the druid can use, they come to a room with some goblins inside. These goblins aren't ready to attack. They've got weapons with them, but they're just sat around chatting, and they're surprised to see the party and a little bit scared. They're not here to fight. They are just wanting to have a place to live, and they just want to be free. The party tries to negotiate bringing the goblins in as retainers, but the goblins don't want anything to do with that. And they say that they're not fighters. They're nothing like that. They just want to live. They do tell the party, however, that there are some wolves in the courtyard, which is nearby within the dungeon, just a room or 2 away, and that the wolves are very dangerous, big beasts, and that they should be cautious, especially if they try and fight them. And so the party lets these goblins go. The goblins were sat around eating like a chicken on a spit, and so they leave these goblins, but they use the carcass as they come up with a plan to get rid of these wolves. So Firth goes through the dungeon, leaving scraps of chicken that remains as a trail. And he leads it out and through the rooms and uses the rest of the carcass and throws it a little ways outside of the castle itself. They then have their assassin, Blank, climb up the walls, scale the walls of the castle, and tie some rope onto the doors, the front doors of this castle, so that when the wolves run out, they will pull it up and these doors will swing shut. The plan works. Amazingly, they were all a little bit worried about it, and they were scared that maybe Jord would get eaten straight away. But their smart thinking and planning allowed them to avoid that combat entirely. And the door was closed, and Blank climbed back down into the courtyard and had a look around. So they pressed on further, going through the dungeon, finding bits of treasure. They didn't encounter many more monsters, other than in one room there was a shrew that is meant to attack anyone that runs out and it bites them, and it will cause you to flee. However, they have a gnome who can speak with burrowing animals, and so Jord had a polite, very friendly conversation with the shrew, managed to calm it down, and said, "Why don't you just leave? Just leave. You don't need to be in this dungeon. You don't need to attack us. We're not trying to harm you." And managed to convince this shrew, who got a very good, friendly roll. The shrew was like, "All right then, okay, yeah, I'll just leave." And the shrew crawls on through its burrow and leaves. And the last part of the dungeon that they came to was a door that they tried listening at. They couldn't hear anything. They tried knocking it down, and it wouldn't budge. This door was locked by magical means. So they didn't know really what to do here. They moved back round. They spoke with the traders and with the cleric, and she mentioned the statue of the shepherd in one of the early rooms that they visited, that if you talk to it, then it will respond. But it had spoken to the cleric when she'd briefly been through that room, but Blank said, "The statue doesn't talk. I tried having a go." So the party goes in and they try and speak with it, and when the cleric and when Firth speaks with the statue, it responds. And they quickly realised that the statue was only would speak with lawful creatures. They had a bit of joking around with this statue, asking it a couple of questions about the castle, and then it sort of powered down. They got quite annoyed, or at least the chaotic characters. Mostly Blank was trying to break the statue, get some revenge against it. The fact that it wouldn't talk to him because he's chaotic. And they even thought about dragging the statue and bringing it into town and using it as sort of like an amusement attraction in Restone. But after some debating, they realised, we've got a friend to bury. We're pretty hurt up, and we've got all this treasure that he's bringing back to town. So with that, they left the dungeon, they journeyed along, and they went up to the mines where the original party members were all buried. And they dug a grave there for Ivan. They buried him and said a few words. Frank was distraught about this, and they moved along to back to town. In the dungeon with the bandits as well, something I forgot to mention was Frank got himself a pony, which is named Yonkers. And so now he literally sits atop a high horse, and anytime he's on this horse, his demeanour changes and he starts acting very condescending towards other people. Dear me. And so the party moves along. They get to Restone, and when they arrive, they speak with Dimitri, the innkeeper, and he says, where's Ivan at? I've got a letter for him here that had been sent away by Ivan earlier in the week. He got a response. It was from Velenthor, his junior scholar, that had originally sent him on this journey. And Velenthor says that he's doing more research into the area, and he'll send a map of another location for him to look into, and there'll be more money to come along with that. He also gave some gold for his troubles earlier on, and the party's also kind of sad about this. So Frank wrote back saying where Ivan had been buried, and so they rested up for the evening and tallied up their gold, converted it into XP. And with it, Blank has leveled up to level 2. So he's the first party member to become level 2. In addition to that, Rory, the retainer, has gone from being just a common human to a ranger, a first level ranger. So they've got quite a big and diverse party now. Yeah, it was a fun session. Sad to see Ivan go. The party definitely learned from their mistakes with Ivan being killed. It was, I think, literally a thing of, they picked up the session again, we were getting back into playing, and they had just forgotten about the etiquette, right? They'd forgotten about checking the dungeon doors and stuff like that, and that just led to carelessness. But they rolled with it. The player that plays Ivan was saying, it's fun to be able to at least try something new as well, because everyone else has gotten the chance to play a different class, apart from Frank, who wanted to keep with a halfling. But yeah, try something a little different. So he's looking forward to that, which is, I'm happy about. At least, there's no bitterness there. And yeah, it was a good session. A lot of jokes and stuff like that this time round. It's gotten a little sillier. And I was asking them what they're going to do next time, and they were coming up with all these different ideas. They're thinking about going towards the church and delving into that dungeon and hopefully getting some coin from that. And it seems to be one of the main things. Maybe down the line they'll go to the Tomb of the Serpent Kings and delve even deeper there. They also talked about maybe trying to get a base of some kind. So I'm going to have to look into purchasing property. I know there's strongholds, but usually that's something later down the line. They have about, I think, 2,000 gold each or so, around that. And so I believe with that, they'll be able to purchase like a cottage or a small property made of wood, I think is what they can get, like a log cabin. So yeah, that'll be something. They were joking about maybe getting, like, building a semi-detached onto Demdike's house just to annoy her. And they were saying, oh, God, yeah, she would lose her rag at that. Yeah, it's been a real fun session. Everyone's been enjoying it from, at least as far as I can tell. And I've been loving playing OSE. Definitely a change of pace compared to some other games. And a lot less prep work I've been noticing. Between the weeks, I'd make a couple of notes and I'd jot things down, and that's mostly it. When I used to run 5e, I used to have to do loads of stuff. Every combat I had to think about and try and make into something so it didn't feel like a slog. But with this game so far, maybe it's new players, maybe it's the environment that it's in, it seems like every combat becomes something like environmental and interesting just based on the predicaments that they find themselves in. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Any interaction, any engagement with the video really helps out. Tell your friends about it. And as always, I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye now.